Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. I know most people that I know is actually watching the Super Bowl. Me and my boys were watching it earlier. Um, Thankfully, they're not interested in the what you call it, the halftime performance. My kids are never into the halftime performance, which I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Rihanna, but I don't know if the halftime performance was for little kids. You know what I'm saying? Especially when she was like tapping her butt, and I think she did great. Anyways, so earlier today, I uploaded a video of the Lindsey Clancy arraignment. Obviously, she attended the arraignment through Zoom. She's obviously still in the hospital. She's going to be in the hospital for probably a while. I don't think they even have an estimated time of how long she's going to be there, but she's paralyzed. Um, so she's receiving obviously care in the hospital. She cannot be put into a facility like a prison or anything like that. Even though the prosecutor actually requested that, the prosecutor requested that she be put into um, a prison that has like an adjacent like medical facility. For my understanding, is what she was asking, and that is kind of equivalent to what not Lindsey Chrisley, but Julie Chrisley is in. Julie Chrisley is in a prison that has a hospital, a medical facility adjacent to it. So I think, from my understanding, that's what they were requesting. And her attorney stood up and said, absolutely not. Like, no way, Jose. Do I? Dang it. I messed that one up then. Okay. I'll try to go back and fix that. That's in the typed thing. Oh, I'm gonna have to redo the whole video then. I'll put a pin on that. Reddit is very against Lindsey Clancy. And I'm struggling with this case, you guys, because when it first came out, I want to be clear who the victims are and who the victims always will be. The victims are the children. But we can't deny the fact that if she is suffering from postpartum psychosis, then this isn't something that she would have done. She's not one of those mothers that did not take care of her kids. Like someone on my Twitter the other day, I seen this on Twitter, and somebody said it in my chat here. Oh my god, my ear is itching, you guys. I just can't. Um, Someone said she. Why are we giving her such grace, but we did not give that grace to? Um, oh my goodness, my having such a brain fart moment. Leilani, why are we giving Lindsey Clancy such grace, but we did not do with Leilani Simon? And I noticed that too. Like she showed no emotion at the arraignment. She was just very stone faced. But I think she's on medication. I was gonna say drugs, but she's on a lot of medications right now. She's probably on like top notch pain meds, so she's not gonna show, um, you know, she's not gonna show much emotion. I don't think. But I want to go over kind of some of the things when it first happened. I was of the belief it was absolute that she was suffering from postpartum psychosis. That she had been diagnosed with postpartum psychosis. There was no question. She was on. I think her attorney at one point said she was on 12 medications at one time. She was in therapy 5 days a week. She had taken an extensive um, maternity leave from her job where she worked as a labor and delivery nurse. So, a lot of people don't go into that field if they don't have like a love for children. I know that was one of the things that I wanted to do when I was growing up. That was something that I considered, is to go into the, labor and delivery, because I've always had a love for kids. Right. She was on 12 different medications, but not all at once. But I think the way that it was put out there was that it was at once. I know that's what I was thinking. That's what a lot of other people, from things that I was reading, other people were thinking. There's like, oh my God. I seen people tweeting like that her doctor should be have his medical he should be medical malpractice. They should find him in medical malpractice because she was on so many medications, but she was not on that many medications at once. She was on 3 medications at the time of, yeah. So, like I said, when it first happened, I thought she had been diagnosed with psychosis. I thought that she was on so many medications. I thought that she was going to therapy 5 days a week. And right now we still don't really know. When I was listening to the prosecution, that's where I first started hearing a different story. That she was not on 12 medications at one time. And there were some things that the prosecution said that I don't agree with, though. The prosecution said that because she used her Apple Maps to find out how far away the restaurant was, then that was her planning it. Like, oh, I need to know how much time I have that he's going to be gone. Well, in that case, why was she asking for something for the children? One of the children clearly was constipated or something like that. Thank you, Joe. I mean, she went so far as to look it up, like children's Miralax. Does this pharmacy have it? Call to see if they have it. She wouldn't have cared if they really had it. She could have just said, "Hey, go to CVS and get XYZ." She wouldn't have. I mean, for them not to have it would have been even better for her because her husband would have been running around looking for something that they didn't have. I think she was trying to see what time because I do that as well. Me and we try to stay on a schedule. Like, okay, we're gonna start making dinner at this time. Dinner should be done by this time, and we'll eat and we can start baths at this time. And by this time, the kids can go to bed. So, like my kids, school nights, we want them in bed by 9 p.m. So we try to plan accordingly. So I'm wondering if that's why she was really trying to see the timeline of how far the restaurant was. I'm wondering if she was like, okay, let me ask my husband if he wants this. If so, we can order now. It'll be ready about this time. He can get there. Let me see how far away it is. Okay, then he can get home. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, I really think she was looking it up because I just think the prosecutor cannot say in one breath that she looked up the distance to see if she had enough time while also her doing the research into this Miralax. I just, because she was literally sending her husband to get something that she would give to one of the kids. But if she was planning on killing the kids, then why send him there at all? She could have, why call the pharmacy to see if they had it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I just don't know. And here's the thing. The judge has said that he's received tons of letters from coworkers, family members, friends, all kind of going to bat for her, saying like this is not who she is. She was a very loving mother, loved her children. Like I think women that like Leilani that kill their kids because they're evil, they show signs of not caring about their kids. Just like Leilani had, Leilani didn't even have custody of Quentin Simon. She didn't have custody of her oldest child. She had custody of the 4-month-old, but she had only had that child for 4 months. And she was still with his dad. So I think women that kill children because they're evil, they show signs of not caring about those children from jump. I think women that kill their children and it's over like something snaps in them, but they were great all ahead, like all before, like they loved their children, they were very attentive to their children. I think something snaps in them, and it has to be something going on, like some chemical imbalance in her head. I don't know if it's psychosis necessarily, but this is just my opinion, and that's why I wanted to hop on here and talk to you guys because at first I was so sure, like, oh, definitely psychosis, right? After hearing the prosecutor, I began to wonder, like, what is going on here? Grace Sky Photo says, I still believe it was postpartum psychosis, but her asking for a lawyer instead of asking about her kids when she woke up raises flags to me. I think she remembered. I think, and I think that's why she asked. I think, did you see The Facebook post you made to a parenting group regarding Dawson. I did not. I did not. Let me look that up really quickly, see if I can find it. Why even call husband back to be able to discuss the Miralax brand, etc. If something next level, yeah. This is definitely different than Leilani. Yeah. I just found this. Let me read this really quickly to you guys. I don't know if this is going to go over the post. You guys don't hear anything in the background, do you? Make sure my desktop audio ain't even up there, but where's that? Andrea Yates methodically killed all of her kids, one after one. They also found her guilty of murder before the charges were reversed to lack of mental competency. Absolutely, Joe. No background noise. Great. If you're in a psychotic episode, you usually don't remember anything that happened. Yeah. Okay, so this Massachusetts mom, Lindsey Clancy, shared postpartum anxiety battle before allegedly killing her kids. The Massachusetts mom accused of strangling her two young kids. So many articles I read say she strangled her two kids. It was three of them. So many people's forgetting about the youngest one. And trying to kill her infant before jumping out of the window had revealed online months earlier that she was struggling with her mental health after giving birth. Lindsey Clancy, 32, opened up about her battle with postpartum anxiety on Facebook in July, months before the shocking violence at her home in Duxbury on Tuesday. 6 weeks after the birth of her third child, the mom of three shared another post about how she felt dialed in again. She said she was focusing on exercise, nutrition, and her mindset, noting it has made all the difference. The post is not visibly public on the Facebook page. Sources have told CBS Boston that authorities are considering the possibility that Lindsey was suffering from postpartum psychosis. Lindsey, a labor and delivery nurse, allegedly killed her daughter Cora, 5 years old, her son Dawson, and tried to kill her 8-month-old son, which she did end up killing him. She remains hospitalized after jumping out of the second floor window at her Summer Street home, about 35 miles southeast of Boston. She now faces 2 counts of murder, 3 counts of strangulation or suffocation, 3 counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. Firefighters responded to the 911 call. Patrick discovered. It says Patrick discovered their 3 children unconscious with obvious signs of trauma, which he did, but that happened while he was on the phone with 911. Cora and Dawson were pronounced dead at the hospital, while the infant boy, who turned 8 months on Thursday, was flown to Boston's Children's Hospital, where he eventually passed away. This doesn't say what the post is, other than she was struggling, but she had started focusing on exercising and everything. Okay, hold on. All right. Yeah, do I need a lawyer? That's very odd. Let me see. Do you remember things? I mean, maybe it was some sort of mental break. It had to be, right? Yeah, the dad is still, I mean, Patrick is still supporting her in all of this.
Where's my $5 at?
Did they win?
Yeah, 38 to 35.
I'm on a live stream, buddy. I'll send it to you cash out. How much was it? What was it?
38 to 35. Kansas City won.
All right, buddy.
Oh, we got the first 2.
Sorry, guys. Me and my son we were watching the Super Bowl together, but I dipped out after halftime to come get some work done, but I did. He was going for Kansas City and I was going for the Eagles. So, yes, please send me the post. Let me. He's coming to collect. Yes, he is. Really, I'm not going for anybody, but I was just going to go opposite of him just so we could have a little bit of banter back and forth, you know. The only football that I really watch is high school because I like and I only watch my boys play football. I don't watch. I'm not a big NFL person. Now my sister Flossie is. She goes to the games. Uh, like she gets tickets and stuff to go to the games, and my boys love it too. I actually asked Flossie to take Eli the next time she goes to an NFL game if she would take Eli because he just is so into it. Um, but I don't really watch anything other than my boys play. But I decided I would go. The team that I was going to root for will be opposite. You know, the one that my son was going for, just to give it a look, just make it fun. Um, okay, so what is a psychotic break? Do they remember the psychotic break? It's sad. It's so sad, man. I can't even imagine. You know, looking at those little kids and just thinking they're looking their mom in her face when she's hurting them. And they probably don't know she's killing me, but they know my mom is hurting me and she won't stop. Why won't she stop? And I would have to imagine the look on Lindsay's face is not a look of love. It's probably a look of just out, like gone crazy, you know? Okay, so I'm just going to read this. Do they remember what happens in a psychotic break? The doctor asked me when this all started for my son. When I described his break, TV talking to him, people following him, that happened a few years ago, he said that it didn't happen. He remembers certain aspects, like a book on the table that he had an issue with. I'm just wondering if your loved one denies things that happened during their psychotic break. This is obviously not postpartum psychosis, but a psychotic break. Perhaps when he hears what I say, he doesn't want to admit that it happened because it wasn't normal behavior. My family member forgets some things and remembers other things that happens during severe psychosis. I've heard elsewhere that a psychotic episode is kind of like a waking dream or a nightmare. So it makes sense that only flashes or parts can be recalled. That does make a lot of sense. And all providers say that people who have psychosis don't remember a lot of it. My son would never admit to the TV talking to him. His therapist told me, and my wife, his therapist told me, and my wife has suspected it. He is 28. I can't read what you're writing on me. Not remembering or wanting to talk about the breaks for my son is a part of wanting to start a new life on medication. Somebody with the name Mommy said, I remember them. It isn't a good feeling either. Some of us don't. And to be honest, there are sometimes some things I've said or done that I don't remember. Thinking of the same way as working as an alcohol, working, think of it the same way of working as an alcoholic blackout. You keep functioning, but you have no clue what you're doing. My son doesn't seem to remember exactly what he would do, but he can tell you a little bit about some of the patients who were in the hospital behavioral unit, health unit, aka the psych ward. But he never really talks about anything that gives me any understanding of what he goes through. His delusions go away for the most part after stabilized again. I wish he would tell me more. Maybe he just can't remember. Somebody else said, I remember all of mine. It's like a form of PTSD thinking about it. But yes, I do remember the details. I imagine everyone's different though. Some may not remember. My PDOC has told me I have good insight into my ZA, so that might be why I remember. My son's second episode of psychosis involved hallucinations and delusions, and hitting and injuring me with a kitchen knife. After a year in jail and a year in a psych ward, he remembers all of it. It's part of his treatment to have to look hard at the timeline of his illnesses. He has had to listen to my taped statements to the police given to the ER and look at the police pictures of my wounds. Oh, yes, he remembers it all. I thought the world was going to end, is how he verbalized it to me. He was grateful that I love him and that I forgive him. He also has good insight into his illness, so I agree. Maybe that's why he can remember it and can deal with it. His first episode involved delusions of spreading love to the world, no violence. He also remembers it but doesn't talk about it that much. So I don't. The doctor said she did not have PPD, nor did they send her home with any meds. And she did replan the husband's errands to ensure he was gone long enough. Well, she was on medications. She ended up going back to the hospital because she just wasn't on 12 at one time. The husband supposedly asked doctor for help a few weeks ago, and the doctor hadn't told him not to leave her alone with the kids. I want to watch a little bit of this, and I uploaded it too. I did upload it too, but we'll just watch a few quick things of what the prosecutor said, as well as what her attorney's saying. Because listen to the prosecutor. I've learned this since becoming a content creator, that you can listen to one person and think, oh, wow, that makes sense, and believe that person, but then you can listen to the person with the opposite theory and then hear them and be like, oh, wow, that makes sense. Nothing has come out that she was having an affair. I don't think that I've heard. I don't think anything has come out to say that she was having an affair. I don't know. She is paralyzed from her waist down, from my understanding. You guys let me know if you can hear it. Am I? Did I just? Do I hear it? Yeah. Huh?
From you first.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth is requesting that the defendant be held without.
Do y'all hear that? It's like a echo. Of course. Hold on. We're gonna fix this though. I will play it on here. Where are we at? What's the time? Okay.
And the potential penalty. On Friday, January 27th, 2023, using an erasable whiteboard because she was still temporarily intubated, one of the first questions that
I'm showing the video to you guys, but I'm playing the sound from my phone to avoid the echo. I don't know why it's happening, so I'm gonna scrap the audio from my computer and play the audio from my phone. You guys let me know if you still hear an echo.
Lindsey Clancy asked was, do I need an attorney? She knew that she had murdered her children.
Okay, so yeah, as soon as she wakes up on a whiteboard, she does not ask, how are the kids? How am I? Where am I at? She asks, do I need an attorney? I mean, when you wake up from where you just tried to kill yourself and you're grateful to be alive, is that what you're going to ask? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I was wondering. Who was the guy sitting in the back? Because he made all kind of faces. I mean, he was like, I'm like, I know, I feel you, guy. That's the way that I feel. I'm sitting over here like, too. But I don't know if he realized that he was going to be filmed, but he made so many faces.
And she had the clarity, focus, and mental acumen to focus on protecting her own rights and interests. The following is a summary of the events that led to the murders of Cora Clancy, Dawson Clancy, and Callan Clancy. On the morning of Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, The defendant took her 5-year-old daughter, Cora, to the pediatricians for an appointment. She interacted with a receptionist, nursing staff, and a doctor. There were apparently no issues with the defendant's demeanor or behavior as she...
That's not her husband. I think her husband is actually at the hospital with her. He took off work for a while, and from my understanding, he's been at the hospital with her a lot. But I'm going to move my face because Lindsey Clancy is right behind me. Do you guys still hear the echo? Good night, Aaron. Oh, and that's something too. Like the fact that she was fine all that day, I don't know. Just to me, even more so, feels like it was some sort of psychotic break. The fact that she was fine all day. I don't know, like something just snapped. This is my opinion, but I want to hear y'all's thoughts.
Completed the appointment and was allowed to leave with Cora without any issues or concerns. When she returned home, she went outside with Cora and her 3-year-old son, Dawson, to play in the snow. They built a snowman. The defendant sent photos to her mother and to the defendant, to her husband. She texted with them. Nothing in the text was out of the ordinary or any sign of any distress or trouble. Back inside later that day at 4:02 p.m., the defendant searched on her phone kids' Miralax. She then searched at Takeout 3V.
Yes, hello. I'm so sorry. Let me back that up. Okay, we'll back it up. I'm so sorry. And now I'm hitting my mic because I'm too close to it.
And Callan Clancy. On the morning of Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, the defendant took her 5-year-old daughter, Cora, to the pediatricians for an appointment. She interacted with a receptionist, nursing staff, and a doctor. There were apparently no issues with the defendant's demeanor or behavior as she completed the appointment and was allowed to leave with Cora without any issues or concerns. When she returned home, she went outside with Cora and her 3-year-old son, Dawson, to play in the snow. They built a snowman. The defendant sent photos to her mother and to the defendant, to her husband. She texted with them. Nothing in the text was out of the ordinary or any sign of any distress or trouble. Back inside later that day at 4:02 p.m., the defendant searched on her phone kids' Miralax. She then searched at Takeout 3V via her cell phone at 4:13 p.m. Immediately after doing that, she used Apple Maps on her phone to determine how long it would take someone to drive from her home in Duxbury to 3V restaurant in Plymouth. So she would know how long someone would be gone if they ran that errand.
Like I said, I really think she was looking at the time of how far away to see, like, if he left now, like, what time can we do dinner? Let's see how far away. So now they were, from my understanding, downstairs was a basement that they had made into his office. Like the left side was his office and the right side was the basement. But I think it's all generally one room, but the left side was his office, which is where his desk and everything was. So I think, I could be wrong. I'm sure we'll see like a blueprint of it at some point throughout this trial. But it seems like she had them all down there. Like they were all down in the basement.
She next went on the CVS website at 4:47 p.m. and then called CVS on Summer Street in Kingston. She spoke to the manager of CVS and asked if they had the kids' Miralax. The The manager told her no, but they had other similar medications. According to the manager of CVS, her voice did not sound slurred or impaired in any way. She had no trouble understanding the defendant, and it was a perfectly normal conversation. At 4:53 p.m., the defendant texted her husband, who was working in his home office in their basement. She texted, "Any chance you want to do takeout from 3V? I didn't cook anything. It's been a long day." This was an unusual request, as when the family ordered takeout, they usually go somewhere closer to home, but it was a place that they had been in the past. Patrick Clancy texted back yes, and then the defendant asked him to check the menu. At 5:06 p.m., the husband texted the defendant asking what she was going to get. She responded, "A Mediterranean power bowl." She spelled it correctly, and it was something that was on the menu. He then told her that he wanted the scallop and pork belly risotto. At 5:10 p.m., the defendant called 3V Restaurant to place the order. She got the order correct. She gave the correct name for pickup, Patrick. The hostess who took the call said there was nothing out of the ordinary about this call. She was able to understand the defendant, that her voice was not slurred or impaired in any way. At 5:15 p.m., Patrick Clancy headed out the door to run these errands at the defendant's request. As he left, she texted him Pedialex.
That's not abnormal though. Like at the defendant's request, most wives that are like tending to the kids and the husband just got off work would send the husband like, "Hey, can you go pick up the food real quick? You just got off work. Go grab the dinner." I don't know.
With stool softener. Surveillance footage shows.
Okay, that too. I wanted to talk about that really quickly. She called CVS and asked them if they had Miralax. She asked them if they had Miralax. And the employee with CVS said that they did not, but they had something else. She went through the trouble of finding out what else they had. She didn't just say, "Okay, thank you, bye," but she obviously asked, "Well, what else do you have a similar medication?" And they said, the Pedialex. She got that information down. That way, when her husband went, she could relay that to him. Like, "Hey, get Pedialex. Like, they don't have Miralax, get Pedialex." I just feel like if she really wasn't trying to get that medication, it wouldn't have mattered. She could have just been like, "Go to the store, get Miralax." And it would have been even better if they wouldn't have had it, because he would have took his time going up and down the aisle looking for it. Like, "Here's the Miralax." Even if she would have said, "I called," they said they had it. Travel up and down, up and down, up and down. Most husbands going to look for a good 10 minutes before they go ask somebody, "Hey, where's the Miralax at?" And it would have gave her more time. But when they said, "We don't have it," she said, "Okay, what do you guys have?" And she went through the process of finding out what they had, wrote it down, relayed that to her husband once he was on his way.
Mr. Clancy at CVS on Summer Street in Kingston at 5:32 p.m. He goes to the medication aisle, the children's medication aisle. Phone records show that he called the defendant at 5:33 p.m. and she did not answer the phone. She then calls him back at 5:34 p.m. and the call lasted 14 seconds. He's there at the store unsure of which medication to get, and she tells him exactly what she wants. He had no issues communicating with her. It was a completely normal call, although he did mention that she seemed like she was in the middle of something. He is on surveillance footage during this time, exiting that aisle and appeared to be using his phone. He then heads to the register, makes his purchase, and leaves the store at 5:37 p.m.
What's going to be super important is to find out what time those kids died. Because say they find out the kids died at the time that he called and she answered and sounded like she was doing something. If it was right around that time. So when he says, "Well, I called her," she seemed fine. She talked fine, but she did seem a little preoccupied. If we find out that it was right at that time that those kids were killed, then I would definitely be like, "Okay, obviously she planned it. She acted fine when he called while she was in the process of killing her kids." Because I just feel like if this was some sort of psychotic break, then she just went crazy. You know what I'm saying? He's like, maybe one of the kids done something, and she just flip, and if anybody would have called her at that time, she probably wouldn't have answered at all. Or if she would have answered, she would have answered kind of out of her mind, you know? See, that's my train of thought, Anita. She wouldn't care about getting the medication for one of the children if she was planning this. It would have just been like, hey, go get whatever. She wouldn't have went so in depth with it. Yes, she is a nurse, not a mental health professional. Yeah, she was a mental health professional. She was just a nurse. She was labor and delivery.
Thank you, Your Honor. State
Wow, really?
That's the case, the strength of the Commonwealth's case, and the potential penalty. On Friday, January 27th,
Did I just start it over?
using an erasable whiteboard because she was still temporarily
Hold
intubated,
on.
she was able to understand the defendant, that her voice was not slurred or impaired in any way. Exactly what she wants. Here, her cell phone, she was
Trying to work all these is going to be. I got to get Sean to fix my sound because I need it.
find his kids. The window. Looked inside. He saw. He's next seen on at 5:34 p.m. and the call lasted 14 seconds. He's there at the store, unsure of which medication to get, and she tells him exactly what she wants. He had no issues communicating with her. It was a completely normal call, although he did mention that she seemed like she was in the middle of something. He is on surveillance footage during this time, exiting that aisle and appeared to be using his phone. He then heads to the register, makes his purchase, and leaves the store at 5:37 p.m. He's next seen on footage at 3V restaurant at 5:54 p.m. He picks up the food and he's out of there within a minute. When he arrives home, the first thing he noticed was the silence. He did not see or hear the defendant or the children. He actually called her cell phone at 6:09 p.m. looking for them, and she did not answer. He went to their bedroom on the second floor and the door was locked. He was able to open it, and when he looked inside, he saw blood on the floor in front of a full-length mirror and the window open. He immediately runs downstairs and into the backyard, where he finds the defendant laying on the ground. She appeared to have cuts on her wrists and neck, but he stated to 911 that those wounds were no longer bleeding. She was conscious. He called 911. During this time, he asked the defendant, "What did you do?" She responded to him, "I tried to kill myself and jumped out the window." During the 911 call, Patrick can be heard asking the defendant, "Where are the kids?" He later told police that she replied, "In the basement." So immediately after this happened, she knew what she had done and she knew where the kids were. When EMS arrived, he asked them to stay with her so he could go find his kids. The 911 call kept going. Patrick can be heard on the 911 call entering the home and heading to the basement. At one point, he calls out, "Guys." He can then be heard screaming in agony and shock as he found his children. His screams seem to get louder and more agonized as the time passes. Cora and Callan were on the floor in the den area of the finished basement, which is to the left when you walk down the stairs, while Dawson was alone on the floor in his father's home office, which is to the right when you go down the stairs. Each child still had the exercise band that was used to strangle them tied around their necks when their father found them. Dawson and Callan were face down on the floor. Cora was on her side with her torso turned towards the floor. He removed the bands and begged them to breathe. He continued to scream uncontrollably and screamed for officers to come to the basement. The dispatchers are hearing this and they send help down to the basement, and when they encounter Patrick, he yells out, "She killed the kids." The police rushed the children to ambulances that brought them to the hospital, and unfortunately, Cora and Dawson were declared dead at the hospital. Callan was med-flighted to Boston Children's Hospital. Medical staff was able to restart his pulse, but not his brain activity. He was placed on life support for several days before passing away. The defendant was transported to South Shore Hospital and then to a Boston area hospital where she remains. She sustained several broken bones in her back and her rib cage. The police were able to find several notebooks in the defendant's home pursuant to a search warrant, and also notes on her phone that were similar to journal entries. The In the months, weeks, and days preceding January 24th, 2023, the defendant meticulously detailed her daily activities, her children's lives, her mental state, and her medication use. Her writing was clear, precise, and articulate. She never indicated that she was hallucinating, delusional, or had disordered thoughts or speech. In all of her writing, she appears to know who she is, where she is, the date, and with whom she's interacted. She wrote a note on her phone the day before killing the children, stating that she had, quote, a touch of postpartum anxiety, end quote, around returning to work.
I think even when you are kind of having a mental breakdown, you know who you are. Like, I remember one time, let's see, we lived on the hill, so this was, Sean worked offshore. I had to call my mom and my best friend because I was not doing well. I had been, okay, so I had 4 kids at the time. And, I have 4. Nope, I had 5. Okay, I had 5. Hold on, I'm trying to think. Yes, I had 5 kids. The youngest one, I had up to Dakota at that time. Dakota, he probably wasn't but about a year old. But my son Christian, who is autistic, he was very difficult as a child. He was not bad. He wasn't mean. He just was into everything and loved to explore everything. And I had to just follow him around, or he would be climbing on things or trying to get outside, or he was just very difficult. Like, he would get out of his car seat every time we went somewhere. And I was alone a lot of time in my vehicle traveling, like every other weekend, taking my kids to their dad's 2 hours away. And, I had all these kids in my car and one that would just not stay in the car seat. And I remember one time not doing well. I mean, I knew who I was. I don't know if I would really describe this as but I did want to have myself committed. I did. I thought I was going crazy. I had not had any sleep in many, many nights. And I called my mom and my best friend to come over, and I cried. And I told them, I have to get Sean off the rig. He has to come home. I have to commit myself because I feel like I'm going crazy. Like, I have no sleep. Like, Christians kind of run me crazy, trying to keep up with him. And then I have the other kids. Like, I just don't know what to do. And I didn't want to hurt my kids. But I knew I wasn't well. But I knew who I was. Mental clarity was as on point as it would ever be, And we got in touch with Sean on the rig, and I cried. I told him, you have to come home. And he said, I cannot come home. He said, if I come home, I could risk losing my job. And I thought, oh my God, like, you just don't care. Like, you don't care about me, the kids, and now I kind of get it. I mean, I have my mom, I have my best friend, and they really helped me out throughout that time. My best friend stayed with me, and she let me kind of get some rest. But the oil field is like cutthroat. You could lose your job for going home for something like that. I mean, you can't even go home if you lose a loved one sometimes. Like, it depends on who your boss is out there. So I held a lot of resentment for him not coming home right then. But obviously, after I got better, I was like, I'm probably glad you didn't, because we definitely can't risk you losing your job. But I knew who I was. I knew what day of the week that it was. I was not slurring in my speech, and I was exhausted. I had not slept in forever, and I was just not well. But I knew who I was. If I got on the phone with somebody, I could carry on a conversation. If I was to talk to someone on the phone and did not want them to know that I was struggling, I could do that. I could, hey, what are you doing? And then as soon as we hang up, break down. So for her to be like, she talked on the phone, she seemed fine, still doesn't mean that she wasn't suffering. Thank you, Cherry Girl. Thank you.
She wrote that her psychiatrist had prescribed
It was tough. I'm so glad that he can be home with me now.
medication to help her. The defendant was initially diagnosed, according to her husband, with generalized anxiety disorder. She was then evaluated at the Women and Infant Center for Women's Behavioral Health in Providence, Rhode Island on December 20th, 2022. There, after an evaluation, she was told in the presence of her husband that by psychiatrists that she did not have postpartum depression and that she had no symptoms of postpartum depression. She wrote in her journal that at times she had suicidal ideation in December of 2022, and she also told her husband that she had suicidal thoughts and on one occasion had thoughts of harming her children. But she did not write or voice those thoughts after a stay at McLean Hospital. When she had those thoughts, she consulted with a psychiatrist and with her husband, and then she committed herself to McLean Hospital on January 1st, 2023. She was discharged by the hospital on January 5th, 2023, and the hospital did not file any paperwork at that time attempting to have her committed as a danger to herself or others. She also kept meticulous and detailed daily medication logs in a diary that she wrote. She detailed that she had difficulties with each of the medications that were prescribed to her, and when she had issues with those medications, she detailed how her doctor had her stop that medication or wean off of it, and then try something else. They were trying different medications to see what would work for her, what would benefit her. According to her husband, she was never on more than 4 to 5 medications at one time, and at the time of the murder, she was taking only 3 medications. And he said to the police that she always took the medications as prescribed. After her stay at McLean, the defendant appeared to be getting better, according to her husband. She slept well, interacted with friends and family. She went out with her kids and husband to places like the Kingsbury Club in Duxbury, the Charlie Horse Restaurant, the Museum of Science in Boston, the Cape Codder down the Cape, interacting with her family and the public without any apparent difficulties.
But she did just say that back in December 2022, which was a few months ago, she did express to her husband that she had suicidal thoughts. And when was, and the baby was 6 months old at that time.
She even stayed alone with the children on several occasions without any issues in January of 2023. Her husband asked her in mid-January, "Are you still having suicidal thoughts?" And she said no. The defendant's parents visited the family the weekend of January 21st, 2023. They interacted with the defendant in person. The defendant was able to run errands while her mom watched the children. She texted back and forth with her mother, and there was nothing out of the ordinary about these text messages. In fact, the defendant texted her mother on January 22nd, 2023 to ask how her ride home went. During this conversation, the defendant's mother wrote, quote, "Enjoyed seeing everyone this weekend. Nice to see you doing better," end quote. On the night of the killings, Patrick Clancy was interviewed by the police at Beth Israel Deaconess Plymouth Hospital. He told the police that the defendant was having one of her best days. She was smiling and happy, and there was no indication that she was going to harm the kids. No one at all described her as acting like a zombie in the days leading up to the murder or on the day of the murders themselves.
I don't agree with this. What does acting like a zombie have to do with this, though? Like, just because you're suffering from postpartum psychosis, say one is, and they're over medicated or under medicated or just not on the right medications, they're not going to be. The only way you would be walking around like a zombie is if you were highly over medicated or over medicated. You know what I'm saying? And then you might be sleepy. But I doubt you're going to be going out and hanging out with your family or anyone, taking your kids out if you're over medicating, you're sleepy. Yeah, the zombie comment doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because just because someone can suffer from postpartum and they're not walking around looking like a zombie. I hope this case opens the eyes of people and Lindsey helps change the future of PPD in our country. I hope the silver lining can be drawn from this. I definitely think there needs to be way more discussions of this. Yes, Alexandra, I've heard people that commit S are very happy and joyful leading to. I've heard that as well. That when they make that decision, I'm going to do this, it's like a burden has been lifted off of them and they enjoy that last. Because people that deal with depression and extreme mental health conditions, they're sad. There's this sense of gloom and doom constantly hanging over them. But when they make that decision, I'm just going to do it. all that were like, it's gone. They live those last few days or moments in peace, knowing that it's about to come to an end. I've heard that as well. But from my understanding, she always was happy. Guess if you're suffering from mental illness, then you must be a zombie. And yeah, I didn't like that comment. Yeah, just like, yeah, Twitch. That still hurts my heart, man.
On February 5th, 2023, this past Sunday at 1:35 p.m., while sitting with Dr. Paul Zeisel, the psychologist hired by defense counsel to evaluate her mental state, the defendant used Dr. Zeisel's cell phone to call her husband. She left a voicemail stating that she loved him. Yesterday, on February 6, 2023, at 10:09 a.m., she again used Dr. Zeisel's cell phone to call her husband. This time he answered, and during this call, the defendant stated that after he left the house that night, she killed the kids because she heard a voice and had, quote, a moment of psychosis, end quote. He asked her what voices she heard, and she said she heard a man's voice telling her to kill the kids and kill herself because it was her last chance. Patrick Clancy told the police the defendant had never heard voices before. He also told the police the defendant had never used the word psychosis to him before. The first time she used that word psychosis was when she was with the doctor hired by defense counsel and using his cell phone. The defendant actually wrote a note on her phone on October 25th, approximately 3 months before this happened, October 25th, 2022. She wrote, quote, I think I sort of resent my other children because they prevent me from treating Cal like my first baby. And I know that's not fair to them. I know that. I was feeling so depressed last evening when Cora and Dawson came home from school. I know it runs off on them, so we had a pretty rough evening.
That is heartbreaking to hear, for her to say she has resentment towards her older kids because the youngest one can't be treated like the only. And I dealt with that, but not like that. Like, I dealt with Dakota. I have a lot of so Dakota, he is in between Christian and Kennedy, and Kennedy is 5 and Dakota just turned 7 in January, right? So it's only like a year and a half in between them. But in between that year and a half, I got pregnant and miscarried and dealt with that whole thing. So Dakota did not get to be a baby very long because I had him a few months later, like 6 months later. Let's see. Like 11 months later, I was pregnant again. Had a miscarriage. And then a few months after that, pregnant again. So, I mean, before he was even a year old, was pregnant again, And so when she said that, she had a lot of resentment towards her older kids. I was like, wow, I wonder why she just didn't feel, because I feel that on myself. Like, I feel like that's on me. Like, I did not wait long enough to allow him to be the baby for longer. I don't take it out on Kennedy for coming when she did. I don't take it out on the older kid. Like, it's just so the way that she looked at that definitely was different for me, and I felt like I wonder why she just didn't look at it like this. Like, it's kind of my fault that he's not the only one. I don't know. We're gonna zoom it past, and we're gonna go to where her attorney speaks. I do have this whole hearing up on my channel if you guys want to listen to it. I really just kind of wanted to hit the highlights in this because, like I said, there were things the prosecutor said that I didn't know about, and then it kind of had me wondering, like, wait, what?
Your Honor, my request is that the court not enter what I would suggest is an inhumane order ordering this woman to be incarcerated. We all know, as people that work in the system, that jails and prisons are woefully deficient in medical care of the most basic type. We all know that this is an individual, as Rhonda knows from Dr. Ricard's letter, who is in dire medical condition. We all know that this woman is, as counsel concedes apparently, she's unable and has been unable to express any happiness or sadness or cry. And in fact, sometime about a month or two ago, she made the comment, "I just wish that I could feel something." Now, our society fails miserably in treating women with postpartum depression or even postpartum psychosis. It's medicate, medicate, medicate. Throw the pills at you, and then see how it works. If it doesn't work, increase the dose or decrease the dose. Then end up trying another combination of medications. We're talking a relatively short period of time from when that baby was born in October up until January, when this incident occurred, Your Honor, that she was on such significant dosage of medication. Your Honor knows that Cora was born in 2017. It was a very uneventful, normal pregnancy and delivery. No issues afterwards as far as anxiety. Dawson was born in 2018. Again, it was a normal birth. She had no significant issues as far as anxiety. She did have to have stitches and she was sore, and that was about it. Then, of course, Calendar.
Maybe she had a psychosis break or whatever. Oh, thank you, Alexandra. Thank you. I'm gonna try to start doing more lives like on TikTok and on Facebook as well. So follow me on Facebook and follow me on TikTok, and on the Bash Chat. I'm trying to get all over on these platforms. Yeah, the guy in the back looks like he's struggling. So the backyard neighbor found her. I thought her husband found her. From everything that I've read, it says her husband found her. But oh crap, I had something I was going to say to this, but okay. I'm wondering if she had a mental break, killed her kids, but afterwards snapped out of it, maybe while she was killing the youngest one, which is why she did not like the other two, she strangled them until death, it seems, right? The third one, she did not kill him at that moment. She stopped at some point before he died. So I'm wondering if she kind of snapped out of it in the middle of what she was doing to him, saw what she done, and said, "Oh my God, look what I just did," and goes and tries to kill herself. First, she tries to cut her wrist, her neck, and says, I know I'm not doing it deep enough. I'm going to jump out the window. I don't know. There's just something in me that just does not want to believe that she just planned to do this after she was like a great person and a great mom all these years. Like, how do you just go from being a good wife and a good mom, and then you kill your kids and you attempt to kill yourself? To me, it's like something's got to be wrong mentally. I'm trying to make sense of it, you guys. I don't know.
No, she ended up becoming depressed, suffered from significant anxiety, as a result of which she consulted with a number of doctors. A number of doctors indicated that she would be able to sleep, she would be able to feel, she would be able to emote once these medications kicked in. And again, as I say, our medical and our society completely abandons women with this condition. It's easy to say, come on, you have a healthy baby. You have a wonderful husband. You're able to take care of your kids and your home. You're lucky. Take the pills, you'll be okay. Well, they put her on a number of medications. They put her on Prozac, which Your Honor is well aware is known as SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Your Honor knows that along with some of these medications, they have the black box warning from the FDA. May cause suicidal ideation, may cause homicidal ideation. She was on Ativan. She was on Benadryl. And then she ended up being told, okay, because she was complaining about the effects of the Prozac, they said, stop the Prozac, we'll find something else. They put her on Remeron. Then they added on Seroquel. And Your Honor, I attached from David Benjamin, the toxicologist, some papers with the submission. And Your Honor can see the side effects that this Seroquel causes. She was having bad thoughts. She was having worsening depression. Her husband suffered through that phase. Her parents were well aware of the fact that she was suffering from this depression and depressive phase. She wasn't sleeping. on Seroquel. They told her then the Valium would be stopped. She was a shell of herself, no personality. Went to the doctor again. The doctor again prescribes the Seroquel. And then they...
And I know people, everybody's like, this was premeditated. I'm like, how do we know that though? How do we honestly know that it was premeditated? Because, I mean, this is one of the children obviously seemed to be constipated or something and needed some type of medication, right? I mean, wives send their husbands out to get dinner and medication all the time, and something bad can happen. This woman was, yeah. How do we know that it was? How do we know that it wasn't? I feel like something happened when he was gone. I personally don't think she planned this. I think something snapped when he was gone. I could be wrong. More details are going to have to come out for us to really understand, or for us to even get a better, you know, we may never know. When more information will come out, we'll know more. We can, with more information, will maybe have a better idea of what happened. So one of her children did have a doctor's appointment at the pediatrician, which she took the child to earlier that day. They went to the pediatrician, came home, played in the snow, made snowmen. She sent pictures of the kids building snowmen to her husband, to her mom. Maybe that was why she was at the doctor, because the child was constipated. I don't know. But I mean, if she was looking for a Miralax, is that for constipation? What's Miralax for? I think it is for constipation. I'm just wondering if, like, her looking up the distance to where that restaurant was does not tell me it was premeditated. Because I do that all the time. Because like I said, women with small children that have them on a schedule, they want to make sure they can have dinner by this time, and that way at this time they can have them bathed, and So I'm just wondering if she really looked to see how far the restaurant was to figure out, how long it would take him, so what time they could eat, so what time she could start bathing the kids. If she really in her mind was planning the rest of her day out, like, she knew what she wanted to order from the restaurant. She picked the restaurant. She called and made sure they had the medication. And when they said, we don't have that, they said, but we have something else. Well, what else do you have? And then when he was on his way, she even texted and said, get this. This is what I need. Because she knew they didn't have the Miralax. So to me, it seems like there's more evidence to support that she, in her mind, was planning out the rest of their evening. Getting dinner ready, getting the right medication, and when they didn't have what she needed, getting the substitute medication. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I feel like, but I just think while he was gone, something happened and it broke her, and she flipped, and she killed the kids, and in the middle of killing the youngest one, maybe she came to, and she said, holy crap, look what I done, and attempted to kill herself. That's where I'm leaning. I just don't understand how, you know what I'm saying? She doesn't look like a Leilani Simon to me. There's no evidence of her. She took care of her kids. Like Leilani didn't. Casey Anthony threw her kid off on her parents all the time. She lied and she stole, and, so I don't know. I'm just like, you can usually tell a difference between women that don't care about their kids versus women that do, and they're good parents. So if something like this happens, it's like, surely there was something that switched that day, right? But if it was psychosis, then why did she try to kill herself? I think women have killed themselves when suffering from postpartum psychosis, haven't they? I'm not sure, but I would have to look that up. It feels like I've heard of women killing themselves when suffering from postpartum.
Took her off the Seroquel, and then she went to the doctor, and at that point, they prescribed trazodone, Ativan.
No, I'm not saying. Okay, so Melanie says, so does that make someone a better mother because they were good until they were bad? No. Well, hold on. Okay, but I think it makes more sense. Like, okay, if this happened and we heard, well, she didn't even have custody of the kids. Her husband was about to leave her because she was a bad mom. The kids always had diaper rash. Her mom was in the process of, or her mom actually had custody of the kids. That she was on drugs half the time. When she was pregnant with the kids, when she had the kids, they came out with cocaine and marijuana in their system. She was always out doing drugs and partying and this and that. Then it would be like, well, she was a deadbeat mom, clearly, and didn't want her kid. But when she seemed to do everything right and want her kids and be a great mom and was very attentive to her kids, but then this happens, then it really doesn't make sense to me. Like with Leilani, it's like, well, clearly she didn't want her kids. Leilani, her kids were born with cocaine in their system and marijuana in their system, and she lost custody of her older two kids, and she was always out doing XYZ and doing drugs and getting in trouble and la di da di da. So now at the point where they do something, obviously it's wrong. But I think there's a difference. I think there's a difference. If this woman was a great mother and wanted her kids and did all the things that a great mother does, but then snaps one day and kills her kids, versus someone like Leilani that was a bad mom the whole time she was a mom and then beat her child to death with a club and then went and hid the body and then lied about it and sat outside chanting, "Justice for Quentin, justice for Quentin," saying, "I don't know where the baby is. Somebody stole him." You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's a difference there. Some years ago, I abruptly stopped taking Prozac, and it was bad. I literally lost my mind. Didn't know better at the time. And they say if you stop taking some of these medications, like, it could be bad.
Amitriptyline, right up to the very end, when she was so bad that she voluntarily turned herself in, if you will, to the McLean Hospital. We know that that's a psychiatric hospital. She was at the McLean Hospital for a period of about 5 days. Well, at the McLean Hospital, they basically tried to get her off the Seroquel. She wanted to get off the benzodiazepines. She felt that she was being addicted to the benzodiazepines. She then ends up on trazodone, Ativan. Her mood was terrible after she got out of McLean Hospital. She still had the suicidal thoughts. As the government has indicated, she even told her husband that she had suicidal thoughts. You think this is something that she's planning to kill these 3 kids by going and getting a menu, going onto Google Maps or whatever it is, and finding out the distance? When she tells her husband she's having suicidal thoughts, probably a month prior, thoughts of hurting the children, they go to the doctor again, and she's on the medications, on and off, on and off. This is a significant issue between the postpartum depression as well as possibility of postpartum psychosis that is pretty much ignored. But nevertheless, with the overlay of the SSRIs and the history, and your Honor has some emails and things that people would reach out to me from all over the world, indicating that their daughter had the same problem, that they had the same problem. Runners are well aware that many times when people are on Prozac or on SSRIs, workplace violence, homicides, family homicides. This is clearly a true.
Yeah, she told her husband in December that she was having suicidal thoughts.
Tragic, which is a word that's used too much in the criminal justice system, but this really is a tragedy in this case. So we have, obviously, I would suggest, very good defense for this young woman. She's 32 years of age, Your Honor. She met her husband. He was the love of her life. They got married. Wonderful young couple. And as counsel noted, she always wanted to have kids. Always wanted to have babies. main considerations would be obviously the usual field considerations, nature and circumstance of defense, likelihood of success on the defense, roots in the community, and of course, as the Vasquez case as well as Conwell versus Herring, 489 Mass 569, defendant's risk of flight. So now you have a situation, Your Honor, where this woman has incredible support, as you saw, letters from Foxborough that were signed by about 15 women, letters from her family, friends, letters from people she's known since the 6th grade that have stayed in touch with her. One thing that's a theme that is readily apparent is that Lindsey loved her children. That she would always, one of the letters said, she would always rub her belly, rub her belly. She had pictures of her pregnant standing next to Patrick, hanging on the wall. I was in the house. The house is absolutely loaded with indicia of love for those kids. Photographs on the wall, little drawings, all sorts of games, toys, playpens, bassinets in the living room, in the dining room, the kitchen loaded with toys. Virtually the entire house, including their master bedroom. Toys, things for the kids. This is not a situation, Your Honor, that was planned by any means. This is a situation that clearly was a product of mental illness. Now, under the Vasquez case, one of the issues, as I said, is whether or not there's a risk of flight. Now, I did submit to Your Honor a letter that was written by her physician, her attending surgeon, Nakul Rekha. This doctor was.
All right, we're gonna stop it there. I have the whole arraignment over on my channel, on this channel. It's like 46 minutes long, but you know the thing is she was diagnosed with anxiety. But why was she not diagnosed with more than anxiety? Usually, the doctors, the way they diagnose you is they ask you, "How are you feeling? Are you having any suicidal thoughts?" And if you say, "Yes, I'm having suicidal thoughts. I'm having thoughts of resentment towards my other children because my little one can't get all the attention." Okay, the nurses in the chat, I know you guys are not doctors, but I know every time I went for my 6 weeks checkup, the doctors would ask me, "How are you feeling? Do you feel depressed? Do you have any thoughts of wanting to harm yourself or your baby?" If I was to say yes, I feel like I would be diagnosed with postpartum. I was diagnosed with postpartum after I had Paris. And it was not because I was having thoughts of hurting myself or my baby. It was because I had really bad anxiety. I could not sleep at night because I thought my child was going to die. I thought she was going to die from SIDS, and I thought things bad were going to happen to her. I would just have these thoughts of weird things. Like if I was having to cut something with a knife, I was having a thought like the knife, if I set the knife down on the counter, it would fall and stab my child who was 5 feet over laying in her little bouncy. You know what I'm saying? I was having thoughts that, I remember one time when I lived with her dad for the first few months that she was alive, when I tried to make it work with him, we lived in this little rundown trailer, and we had a wash machine and dryer, and the vent thing ran outside, had a big hole in the ground for it. It's an old little rundown trailer, and a possum got in one time. And after that, I was terrified, and I would have these thoughts of a possum eating my baby's feet. Like I just had these strange thoughts that something bad was going to happen to my child. And I was diagnosed with postpartum depression, and I was put on, I think it was Prozac or Lexapro maybe. And that was just from my 6 weeks checkup saying, "I'm stressed out. I cannot sleep. I'm terrified something's going to happen to my baby. Like she's going to die or she's going to get hurt some way." You know what I'm saying? And I was put on medication. So I'm just wondering, why was she only diagnosed with anxiety? I feel like she should have been diagnosed with something else, or there should have been more follow-ups. Obviously, they put her on medication like she was suffering through postpartum depression, because Prozac is a medication that you would take for postpartum depression. I do believe. So the whole video is on my here, I'll put it in the chat and I'll pin it. So that's the whole video, the whole what do you call it? Arraignment. is at that link. Um, exactly, Elle. We had to ask those questions and observe her behaviors. At Kelly Brown, an intense 5 week. Yeah, so that's something else that I heard that she was in this outpatient program that was like 5 days a week, and I'm just like, I'm so confused here. What is actually happening? How was she, if she was not diagnosed with postpartum depression, shouldn't she have been? She had expressed thoughts of suicide. She had expressed resentment towards her older two children. Um, yes, and postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis are different. Yes, and she's still suicidal. They said that she showed no expression, no emotions, no crying, nothing. To me, if she's not zoned out due to medication, which I feel like she probably is, I feel like she's on probably some pretty strong pain medication or maybe something to keep her calm. But if not, and she may still not be completely okay. Um, I felt the prosecutor was just doing her job. I didn't feel the way she was speaking came from the heart. Something about her story telling was blank to me. Larissa says, I've been on every med he mentioned. You cannot take Seroquel and function. Normally, you don't remember a lot after you take it. I thought that was to make you go to sleep. I had a friend that was on that. She would take it before she went to sleep. Insurance is a mess. From my understanding, if you try to off yourself, insurance doesn't pay out, right? She was not inpatient. She was outpatient. I'm sorry. From what they say, Hamburger, I'm not a marine biologist. For $4.99. Thank you so much for the super chat. She seems as much of a victim as her kids. So sad. I would definitely say something was off here. Now, I wouldn't say as much as her kids. Her kids are not here, and she is still alive. But I'm just more details definitely need to come out at this point because I'm so conflicted. Like the bigger part of me, as you guys can probably tell, feels like she has some sort of mental breakdown, and I feel like it wasn't planned. And I feel like what the prosecution said about her mapping the time out, I don't think that was to see if she had enough time. I really think something happened. I really think she was planning dinner to go about her day and wanted to know what time he would be back. So what time we could eat. So what time we could bathe the kids and get in bed. It's been I know when we have a long day here at the Bass House, we're like, okay, let's get dinner done by this time. We're gonna, and maybe we'll get to bed a little bit early tonight because we've had a long day. And she said in her text message to her husband, she said, it's been a long day. It's been a long day. So I'm wondering if maybe she was really just, trying to get a time frame for when they could have dinner. She had her husband pick up medicine for one of the children. She didn't need to do that. She could have said, just go get the meal. How much time was he really going to be spending in CVS, running in and getting what 6-7 minutes extra? Yeah, it's odd that to me, I feel like she remembered. Obviously, yeah. Even if she planned it, doesn't mean she didn't have postpartum. Chelsea says at Elle Bee, when I have Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance in college, I got every diagnosis in the book and any medicine I asked for. Then now I'm on Medicaid, and new doctors tell me I have no diagnosis. Wow. I wonder if it's due to the Medicaid, you think? Cherry Girl says, yes, definitely a system failing women. I learned in nursing school all cardiac research was done on men. Wow. I wonder why. Seroquel is an antipsychotic. So why have her on antipsychotics if she is not psychotic? Okay, and someone said in the chat, and I wrote this down because I'm curious about this. Someone said when women kill their children, they're suffering from postpartum. But when men kill their children, it's, oh, they're monsters. And I was thinking in my mind, because I didn't want to stop it and, you know, keep stopping it and interrupting what they were saying. But I thought in my mind, well, if women kill their children just a few months after they've had their babies, when you get pregnant and when you have a child, your body is going through a traumatic event. Even though it's what our bodies were made for, to reproduce, it is a traumatic event. I mean, every time I've ever had a baby, the doctor's like, your body just went through something traumatic. Like your hormones are going to be all over the place. So I do think a lot of times when women kill their babies after they have a baby, if and it is postpartum, well, it's because our chemicals are all out of whack and our body just went through something traumatic. And, you know, so I think that's right. I mean, and then someone said, someone said in the chat, men can suffer from postpartum depression, but they cannot suffer from postpartum psychosis. And I'm like, can men suffer from postpartum depression though? Because postpartum depression is a chemical imbalance that happens once your body has a baby, right? So how can a man suffer from postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis? Which now, I mean, I saw on Twitter the other day they were saying men can have a period. And I'm like, wait, what? That confused the hell out of me. Can a man suffer from Men can suffer from depression due to, probably having a new child in the house or a newborn baby, lack of sleep, so he's depressed. But I don't know if a man can suffer from postpartum depression. Because I think the postpartum itself is directly linked to, your body having the babies and therefore throwing your chemicals off. Think about spending your time around someone who's depressed. You probably get depressed too. Yes, my last name is Bass. That is why. Seroquel is like the worst thing ever made to man. Tried that 14 years ago and was asleep on the floor, same spot for 3 days. Holy crap! I had postpartum depression for 6 months. So, does Seroquel even help postpartum? See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that obviously a man can suffer from depression due to a newborn baby coming into the home, having to take on that burden of taking care of the wife and taking care of the newborn baby and not getting a lot of sleep, but not postpartum depression. Like, not postpartum depression. Maybe you can call it that, but I just don't know. All right, let's see. Cherry Girl says medicine was dominated by men and they didn't care about women's medical issues. Women are labeled as hormonal and given meds to sedate or zap them with electricity. Yes. Chelsea says some psychiatrists think Seroquel is an amazing side kick for Prozac. I was put on Prozac at 11, stayed on it for 18 years. Prozac isn't a drug to mix anything else with, in my opinion, recreational or prescribed. The Ridge says, oftentimes when a person is drug shopping, they will tell a physician anything. That's true. I know that from family and friends that did it. Oh, congratulations, April. Congratulations. Western medical history of women is barbaric. Research it if you don't believe me. It is horrendous. Look at the side effects for the RX she was on. There you go. Maybe that's why the prosecutor described her as like she wasn't zombie-like, because even the prosecutor's looking at the medication saying, well, if she was on all these medications, she should have been like a zombie. Maybe that was a problem, is she took these medications for a little bit, felt like they weren't working, quit taking them, become suicidal. I don't know. I'm not that person anymore. Buddha Belly says Lindsay's meds were bounced so much her psychiatrist has some answering to do, in my opinion. I've seen people saying that. Yes, that was me who said that. Studies show that 50% of men who have SO will suffer from postpartum can experience it. See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that maybe it's depression that comes with their wife having a baby. And this is just me talking. I don't know if I'm accurate, but I thought postpartum was linked to a hormonal imbalance due to just giving birth. Um, and postpartum psychosis is the same thing, but to an extreme level, from what my understanding of it is. So, yeah, I just think that he probably can, but not the same way we do. So I don't know, you guys. I'm at a loss for this one. Oh, I'm torn over this one, and I know the internet is as well. And I did watch. Somebody mentioned this earlier. 10 to Life, Annie Elise. I love that channel. I love watching her. I fell asleep watching her video about this the other day, and she has a video, and I'll show it to you guys. If you have time, watch it because Annie Elise went through postpartum as well, postpartum depression as well. And she goes all in detail about it on this video. And I was like, wow, people, I think everyone's experience is different though. Like in her experience, she did not feel a bond to her son. She was like nervous to do things like change his diaper. I mean, so much that they hired help to come in and like stay with her baby, when her baby was not very, very old, they decided to go out with some friends. And they brought in this lady that was highly recommended to them. And they went out and, left this lady with their baby. And the lady was supposed to stay the night so they could get some sleep. And, the lady, Annie woke up hearing her baby crying. And the woman not getting the baby. So she just thought, well, let me wait and see if she's going to hear my baby crying. And she never did. So Annie got up and like peeked her head out and seen that the baby was standing there screaming and the woman was asleep on the couch. And Annie said she freaked out. She freaked out. She went and woke her husband up and said the baby's crying and the lady's asleep and I don't know what to do. Rather than just saying, well, let me go get my baby. My baby's crying. To me that shows there's a disconnect there. And I have no doubt that Annie is probably the best mom, but she was struggling at that time. Anytime I've ever heard my kids crying, I'm like, bam, I'm up and at it. I mean, even to this day, I'm a very like, oh, like, no, it's okay, baby. But there was a disconnect there, and she talks about that. And I just don't think people understand it unless they listen to people who deal with this kind of stuff. And I do think it's different for everyone. Just because someone deals with postpartum depression and they don't have thoughts of suicide or they don't have thoughts of harming their child doesn't mean that the next person won't. Shana says, I thought someone would break in. House fire became agrophobic type of thought. If my hubby didn't answer calls, worst thing happened. This is live. We're live. So I think everyone's battle with this is different. So I don't think we can lump it in to say, well, most people don't do this or most people don't do that, or I don't know. I'm waiting for more information to come out. It's so heartbreaking. I believe she had postpartum depression. Whether or not she had a psychotic break, I think she did. But I don't know that for sure. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys. What do you guys think the punishment should be if she was suffering from postpartum depression and had some kind of psychotic break? What do you think the punishment should be? And then I'll ask the other after that. So go ahead and give me your opinion, even if that's not what you're leaning to. If you're not leaning towards postpartum depression at all, Just say it comes out postpartum depression, she has psychotic break, and there's some way they can prove this. What do you think her punishment should be? Yeah, that's a good point, Stephanie. Why didn't her doctors check in with her more? If they were changing her meds and putting her on a cocktail, so to speak, they should have been checking in with her weekly, if not daily. Absolutely. Absolutely. Lindsay was a nurse. People aren't giving her intelligence enough credit. Nurses are very intelligent. She would have covered it up if it was premeditated, probably. Years in a mental institution, but not life in prison or anything. Okay, now say we find out it was premeditated. Obviously, prison, right? I mean, because that's what I'm leaning to. Like she's paralyzed. Will she always be paralyzed? I don't know. We don't know that, but I think if this was a mental breakdown and she had postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, I think she should live the rest of her life in some sort of mental facility, psychiatric ward, something. Um, I definitely don't think those kids they're gone and you can't bring them back. She was in a 5-day a week program apparently, so they were checking on her. But were those the doctors that prescribed the medication, or was she? Maybe so. I don't know. Life in prison if premeditated, yeah, or death penalty. Yeah. Um, Kim C says she took kid in for possibly constipation. Has anyone else ever done this and got medicine for it for a toddler? I give him some vegetables. Is this Munchausen by proxy? I don't know if that's why she took the child in. I just know she was asking for medication for what I would assume would be constipation. Um, that could have just been a regular appointment that she had with one of the kids and then came home and thought, you know what, this one hasn't pooped in a while. We need Miralax for this child because she was a nurse. So I doubt she brought a child in for constipation, to be quite honest. But I can say I brought my daughter in for stomach issues and my son. um, I mean, extreme, like when they go days and I cannot get them to use the bathroom and we've tried everything and my daughter is supposed to take Miralax every day. Melanie says, I also think a psychotic break. I think punishment should not be jail time, but psychiatric help until they feel she's okay to live on her own. I'm curious, Elle, and other stories like hers, what happened to them? The only one that I really can think of is Andrea Yates, and she's in prison. But this was before they knew much about postpartum depression or psychosis. I'm sure there's other cases, but not any that was as widely known as Andrea Yates that I can think of. I'll look into that. I'll see if I can find any. It's my hubby. Hello. Hey. I'm on a live stream, but I'm just gonna get off in just a second. All right, love you. Bye. Well, that's why we don't give it to her every day because we try to give her food to help. But my daughter has a lot of she's got celiac and she's got a lot of food allergies. Um, my daughter has a messed up stomach. She has like uh, gastro issues. She has celiac disease. She has food allergies. So we don't give her the Miralax every day. We just give it to her when like she really needs it, and we try to, you know, yeah. Miralax is a lifesaver for me. My 12-year-old went through years of idiopathic constipation. Miralax was the only help we got. So as far as I knew, her husband was still being supportive, but someone in the chat did say that her husband has had a change of heart since hearing some of what the prosecution said, but I still don't think that that proves that she planned it. Because to me, that's like a regular day in a household. Like, hey, how far is this restaurant that you're going to be going to get our dinner from? I want to eat. I'm hungry. You know, how long is it going to be before you get back? My friend's son was on it for years. He was born at 28 weeks with lots of health issues. My niece was born at 28. My nephew was born at 28 weeks. He turned 18 the other day. But she didn't tell him where the kids were when he found her. She told him that they were in the basement. He said, "Where are the kids?" And she said, "In the basement." She just didn't tell him that she had tried to kill the kids or that she did kill the kids. Yeah. Doesn't everyone that hurt their kids have something wrong upstairs? Why should people with PPD get treated differently? I'm asking this as someone who suffers from mental health disorders and PPD. And I think Grace Sky Photo answered that pretty good. So Melissa said, everyone that hurts their kids surely got something wrong with them, right? Like everyone that kills their kids ain't right upstairs, right? And I would say absolutely. But in a different sense, maybe. Like Grace Sky Photo says, you have some people who are just evil, kill their kids because they don't want to deal with them. Obviously, they're still not all there for them to think that, well, let me just kill the kid and I don't have to live with them for the rest of my life because you're going to go to jail more than likely. And then you have some people that love their kids and were a great parent, and then something happens and they do this. I've done that plenty of times though. Like I'm like, not since we lived here, but when we lived somewhere else, I mean, I would. Okay, how far is this? How long is it going to take him to get there? Or like when we go to the doctor's appointments, and I'm like, we want to eat there. Let me see how long it's going to take us to get there. You know, like she had 3 kids. She had a newborn. Well, an 7 month old. And if she wanted to keep them on a schedule to have them in bed by say 8 o'clock, she said in her text it had been a long day. Wouldn't she say? Now she knows this restaurant is a little bit further away than right around town because they said normally when they would eat out at somewhere closer and they would go grab them something to eat. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen you in forever. How are you doing without a crystal ball versus WOACB versus WOCB? When you gonna upload some content? Because I missed you in your content. Um, but I'm really just wondering if she really looked it up to see, okay, how long will it take him to get there and how long will it take him to get back? Because I want to have, if he can get back at this time, we can eat. It'll take about this long to eat. We can give the kids a bath at this time, and then we can have them in bed at that time. And it was a restaurant that they frequented, but if she's trying to figure out like a timeline of when they can eat and when they can bathe, and if he leaves at this time, how long does it take him to get there? I don't know. To me, that's just not abnormal because have none of us ever done that. Like okay, even if it's somewhere you've went before, you don't say like, well, let me type it in because I'm trying to see like how long is it going to take me to get there and back, so we can do X Y Z afterwards. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. To me, that doesn't prove it because I've done those things myself, and it speaks even more to me that she was asking for medication for a kid that she was planning to kill. I don't know, but I may be wrong, and that may absolutely be why she did it. Did you? You guys go check out WOACB versus WOACB. One of my favorite channels. She picked the restaurant though, so why would she need to know exactly? You have a general idea. You do. You have a general idea. I mean, so either way, would she need to look it up really? If she was looking it up to see how long she was going to have in order to kill the kids, if she had a general idea, she could still be like, no, it's about 25 minutes away. So 25 minutes. And he's going to CVS as well. So it's going to take about this much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I personally would check the distance before asking my partner to get food for me so I know how it feels to ask. Yeah, to me, I just struggle with this. I just struggle.
Did you put Kenny's new outfit on?
I did put it on to wash.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
It's did you switch the clothes?
I just did. I just remembered.
Oh no.
All right.
Her channel is WOACB versus WOACB. It's what she's in there as. You can click on that. You might be able to go to her. Yeah. And then the 14-second call. She sounded preoccupied, but she still answered the call. I'm thinking something happened after that. Fun fact, my name is actually Jen. And sometimes I don't realize it's me when my YouTube name is mentioned. I use my two daughters' middle names for my photography business. I'll try to remember that, Jen. Seems she put the restaurant, house, and CVS in to seem, my opinion, and that's strange. Wait, seems she put the restaurant, house, and CVS in. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm just struggling with it, you guys. But we're going to continue to cover this case. You can't take away what she done. You can't say she killed her kids. I mean, either way, she doesn't deserve to walk the streets. She doesn't deserve to go home and live a normal life. And when I was watching the arraignment, I'm like zoomed in on her, like trying to see any sort of anything. A tear, a wince, when they say that she strangled the kids, a wince, something. Like nothing. She's just very. And I'm thinking it's got to be the medication, right? It's got to be the medication. But surely she's on some medication that's keeping her out of pain. What were the kids going to eat? She didn't mention anything about fixing them something while he was gone. That's interesting. That's pretty interesting. No mention of picking the kids up anything for dinner. That's true. With the mask, you couldn't really tell, but I didn't see any winces or where it looked like she was crying, but that's crazy. Anyways, you guys, we're going to continue to follow this case. Join me tomorrow over on Facebook. I'm going to do a live on Facebook. I'll show you guys my Facebook account. This is my Facebook account. I'm starting to do live streams on it. You don't think there's any what? Any excuse for killing your kids? Oh, yeah. I think you're right. I mean, obviously there can be reasonings behind it. Like, oh, she went crazy. Her hormones were all out of whack, psychotic break, and that might be the reason why she did it. But does it excuse it? Absolutely not. It doesn't excuse it. So this is my Facebook account. The link is in the description box below. Tomorrow in the morning, probably around 9 or so, I'm going to go live on Facebook, do my makeup. A lot of people always ask me, like, how do you do your makeup? And somebody asked me about the, like, kind of metallic look that I had the other day. I actually used this Pacifica Rainbow Crystals as a liner. I lined my lips with this. And then I put like a purple on it or something. And a lot of people liked it. So join me tomorrow at like 9:30 a.m. Central Time. If you guys want, we can continue to talk about this case. But yeah, a lot of people's like, do your makeup on a live stream. And I'm not good at makeup, so I don't know why people ask. But I've decided I'm going to start doing like little makeup. as I'm getting ready to do my YouTube day, I'll do my makeup on a live and we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Last time we were going to talk about the Murdoch murders, but we ended up talking about MLMs. So just kind of go wherever the conversation goes. So if you have an idea of what to talk about, you can join me tomorrow and say, hey, what do you guys think about XYZ? And we can talk about that. But I'll be doing my makeup and everything. So from your phone, just go to Facebook and then you can look up Elle Bee. And if you find this, you can, it's Get Ready With Me Lives. You just hit that follow button. I'm trying to get 1,000 followers on Facebook and I'm trying to get 10,000 followers on TikTok. Did she suffer any brain damage? I don't think so. No, this will be for everyone tomorrow on Facebook. This will be for everybody. No voices. I don't think so either, Stephanie. Like, I've never had that experience of anything telling me to hurt my kids. But even if something did, I think I'd be like, you? No. Make yourself visible. I'll strangle you. You know what I'm saying? I just don't even if somebody told me to hurt my kids, I'm like, what? Show yourself. Then I'll kick your butt. Like, hell no. But anyways, you guys join me tomorrow. This is the case that I'm just mind blown. Also, we are keeping up with the Athena Brownfield case. There's gag orders on that all the way around. So they're not really telling us anything, but they do have court dates that we're going to be keeping up with. We have, make a TikTok and a Facebook to follow me. We are following the Athena Strand case, which nothing new has come up with that. We are following the Alec Murdoch trial. Let's do a go to bed with me live tonight. They don't want to go to bed with us. Sean be talking in his sleep. I was actually recorded Sean last night because he was talking in his sleep so much. And then I fell asleep with my phone recording and woke up and my phone was on fire under me. And it had been recording for 3 hours in the bed with us. I'll tell you guys in the morning what he was talking about. If you join me live tomorrow on Facebook, I'll tell y'all tomorrow what he was talking about in his sleep. It's pretty funny. Anyways, you guys join me tomorrow over on Facebook about 9:30 Central Time. And we're going to do a Get Ready With Me. And we'll talk about whatever. We'll talk about this case. We'll talk about Alec Murdoch. Whatever you guys want to talk about. It'll be fun. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be sure you give this video a thumbs up. It really helps if you're watching on replay. Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you guys think this was some sort of psychotic break? Do you guys think she suffered from postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis? Do you guys think that she just premeditated and wanted to kill her kids because she had 3 and decided, whoa, this is not the life for me. I'm done, and she kills her kids? Leave me your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet because I'd really love to have you. Follow me over on TikTok, Facebook, and the Bash Chat where we cover Teen Mom. What else do we cover over there, you guys? Sister Wives, 90 Day Fiance, anything trending topics, celebrity news and gossip is over there on the Bash Chat. The links to everything is in the description box below, so you guys can go check them out. Also, go follow WOACB versus WOCB. She just put up a new video, apparently, and she is a channel that calls out another channel for all their wrongdoings. So, yeah, you guys give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the morning. Bye, everyone.